Hi, everybody. So, in the past 5 months, I've reversed years of lost strength, stamina, and energy. And the doctors have said that it's absolutely impossible to do it. But I have done it, especially in bodies that have been damaged so badly from MS. And I've got the worst type of MS called primary progressive multiple sclerosis. But after testing, this download that I received after a six Kundalini awakening of higher consciousness, I we tested out with some clients, and they're start to see changes too. And without taking any expensive drugs or using any costly procedures, they start to see results just like I have in the last 5 months. So in today's video, Rita and I, we're going to start showing you how you can start reversing your disease. It doesn't matter whether it's disease, it's health, but regaining that energy and strength that's been lost, regardless of what you're going through, how long you have for it. And it's something that you can start right now. So I hope that you will stick around and join us for this. Before we get into the stages on how to reverse your disease, I just want to share quickly what happened with me. So over about 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS, something going on with my spine. And MS is something that happens with your nerves. It's not strength. I was always a big, strong guy, martial artist, but the disease kind of works on your nerves. And I just couldn't use my nerves. So over 10 years, as I talked to the doctors, they're saying it's impossible, you got to take these drugs, except I didn't want to take anything. But I was tuned into higher consciousness, and that's what led me down doing Kundalini awakenings, doing higher consciousness, connecting with spirit, and getting downloads. And every time I thought something great was going to happen, that I was on my way to healing, I wasn't healing. I was just getting worse. So the doctors were right, but they weren't right. Because anytime that I thought I was still on the wrong track, or I was on the right track, I felt it, I knew it. But my body was getting worse. But I always knew I was going to heal one day. And that was just a matter of persistence and timing and letting go of a lot of things and learning. So when we're talking about healing in yourself, Rita and I, so Rita is a specialist in human body. She knows the body. She knows how to balance the body. She's been doing this for over two decades. And for me, what I had to go through was the emotional side, understanding the emotional, the etheric, connecting with spirit, and getting access into a higher consciousness and getting knowledge to this. So when it comes down to healing, where it starts, today we want to talk about the basic starting of this. And there's two areas. The first is the physical, and this is where Rita's specialty is. And the second is the emotional and connecting into that higher consciousness. And that aspect goes hand in hand. Now, this is just the beginning of restoring the body, and starting with the physical and the etheric. On the physical side, Rita has always told me about two areas. One is detoxing and restoring. And sometimes you need to restore the cells, and some other times you need to detoxify. Now, I'll pass it over to Rita on this one. She can definitely talk about whether you need to detox the body first or restore the body first. And that's, I'll put it over to Rita. What do you say about restoring or detox?
When it comes to choosing how you start, I think it depends on how strong or weak the body is. So in Chinese medicine, we use the words like, do we want to strengthen, or is someone like deficient, or someone in an excess condition? So sometimes people present and they've got a lot of issues going on. So I'll use an example of like an excess condition. So someone's got a lot going on, but like there's a lot of heat issues. Like maybe they have red face, red eyes, maybe they sweat a lot. So there's like a lot of excess stuff happening, right? Whereas someone might come in and they're more deficient. So low energy, right? Not being able to just sustain their energy. It's just overall, like they're just not very vibrant, right? Like they're just lacking energy type thing. So that's how I would look at at the person first. And if someone's in a lot of excess, they do really well with detoxing because there's already too much stuff there. So just clear, right? Whereas if someone's so deficient or, lacking, you don't want to deplete them further by continuing to like detox them or put them into more stress, right? The body's already in a state where it can't handle what it's doing naturally. So then we don't want to, add to that stress that's already in the body. So that's how I would look at it. I'd look at, okay, can the person handle it? If the body's not ready for it, then we build the body first, and then we eventually get to the point where we can detox or, eliminate.
Yeah. So even before detoxing or restoring the body, one of the key things that was shown to me that put into practice was getting circadian rhythms in check. And that is getting the body's time clock on line with Earth's time clock, with the sun. So if you think about your body, inside this body, there's a little clock in our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And that is our body's time clock. It tells you when to start things, when to stop things. And just like the sun, when the sun gets up in the morning, when we start seeing those first rays of light, when that hits the eyes, that then goes to the eyes, goes to that suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it tells the body, hey, it's time to wake up. We're going to start producing some chemicals. We're going to start getting your digestive juices going. We're going to start the eliminations. You get rid of all the urine that you collect overnight. So connecting into the sunlight is a key foundation even before thinking about detoxing or restoring. And that was key for me. In the past, what would happen for me is Rita would go to bed at a hour. She always said to me, like, go to bed at 9, go to bed at 10, and lights out by 11. But for myself, I had my own business, so I'd stay up. And when Rita would wake up, or when she would go to bed, I'd go to bed with her. And an hour or two later, I'd be right back up. I would stay up to at least 2, 3 in the morning. And when my body was exhausted, that's when I went to bed. So my circadian rhythm, my body didn't know. I'm looking at laptops. I have bright lights on. So at nighttime when I should be sleeping, it's thinking that I'm awake. So the body's producing all the chemicals that it needs to stay awake. So no wonder for decades I wasn't able to sleep. It was one of the key issues of why I wasn't able to heal my body and why it got worse. And if I'm going to take it a step back, so we think about when we're young, we have all this energy. You think about little kids, they just go, 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 go. But eventually when we get older, we get tired, we get more, we start drinking, we start partying, and we really abuse our sleep. That eventually our energy is depleting. And when you deplete your energy, that's when disease and other things happen. And that's at least what happened with me, was not only did I get circadian rhythms go off, but also my sleep went off. So let's talk about the circadian rhythms, getting the body back on track and what you can do. So Rita, why are circadian rhythms important? What is that doing? Like what happens when you go, what happens when you're waking up, specifically at the bed? Like tell me about circadian rhythms. Can you talk about that?
So I see it not so much in the Western sense, like the circadian rhythm sense. I see it in the Chinese medicine sense, where we have what's called like a Chinese clock, and so think of like the 12-hour clock, and every 2 hours there's like an organ system meridian that's most active, and so between 11 and 2, so 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., this is the time of the liver and the gallbladder. This is the time where the body naturally, the liver and the gallbladder are going to be most active. What does the liver gallbladder do? They help you detox, right? So there's this whole very important time that we need for our body to do what it naturally does. And if we kind of skip that very important time frame, we kind of miss out on a lot of natural detoxing the body's supposed to be going through. And so it's not, to me, it's not so much, yes, it is part of the circadian rhythm also. So, like Con was saying, I always, for I don't know how many, 20 years I've been saying this, right? In bed by 10, sleep by 11. In bed by 10, sleep by 11, right? So, you go to bed and then you can kind of like go to bed at 10, then you can kind of do what you need to do to wind down, right? Maybe that's listening to a podcast, maybe that's listening to some music, maybe that's reading a book, whatever it may be, to kind of like just unwind, and then your body can naturally fall asleep. So, but by doing that, if you kind of are always missing that window of healing, then you can see that over time your body is just not going to be as efficient as it can be, right?
I noticed that as well, that when I was getting my rhythms back in check, that was like one of the key parts of reversing this irreversible disease. And it was getting the body in bed or closed off at time so that could start doing that repair. So, and I know that's called autophagy. And that's when all the dead cells start going out and all the repair happens in the body. So it's like it's after the party. After the party's gone, you need to repair the body.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a key piece of getting your rhythms in check, and that is part of our detoxing. So when we talk about reversing disease, and the first stage of getting that body is getting the sleep in check, and then when you start getting into things like the detox and the restoring. So in terms of restoring, one of the key things that was shown to me was waking up with the sun. And the reason why is that, again, with the suprachiasmatic nucleus, when the light comes up, tells the body to start producing these certain chemicals. Not only is that light good for telling the body to start doing things, it's also releasing certain chemicals. So when the sun first comes up, it's all the full spectrum colors of the rainbow. And those things, it's also like red light. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but the infrared light that comes from the sun, it actually starts healing the body, and your skin starts seeing it, your eyes start seeing it, and it starts converting the cells in the body to start producing more. Taking a step back to the detox side, when you don't have that light, so think about this: your water in your body is fueling your body. The sunlight is like what's powering the battery. So if you have a cell in your body and it's starting to deplete and get weaker, and if a weak body, a weak cell can no longer protect you because it just doesn't have the strength, and that's when disease starts, we want to keep the cell strong. So the sunlight is like is just like a solar battery, is charging your solar battery, charging your cells. So waking up with the sun, getting up early enough to get that red light in the morning, but also then when it changes, when the sun starts going up, it gets up to about 10 degrees, and that's called UVA light. And that UVA starts triggering all these chemicals in the body to start releasing certain things like tryptophan, releasing the cortisol. The cortisol is then healing. It's also telling the body at nighttime that I'm going to produce melatonin for your body to start getting into rest mode. So the sun becomes so important. Later on, when the sun gets above 30 degrees, we start getting into UVB light. Now, medical science has told us that this is super dangerous, and you want to get in the sun, you want to wear sunglasses, you want to get sunscreen on, but we've taken it too far. Because the sun, when you get that UVB light, that high noon sun on your body, it then starts converting the cholesterol into vitamin D. Particularly with MS, particularly with almost any disease, the sun is actually key to restoring it. One of our clients and friends who has Parkinson's type 2, just by using the sun and diet, has reversed themselves back to type 1. And they've reversed their incurable disease just by using the sun. But in terms of adding the sun on there, so in January, prior to that, I was in bed 23 hours a day, and I needed to be carried and lifted. And I'm going to share a video on this later. But I needed to be carried and lifted out of bed, whether it was Rita or one of our friends. And after about 3 weeks of using the sun, I was able to start getting my energy and strength back. There's only one problem. In North America, anywhere above LA during the winter months, the sun doesn't get high enough. the sun needs to reach 30 degrees or higher, and the UV index needs to reach above 3.0 in order for the cholesterol to start being converted into vitamin D and all the other necessary changes in the body to happen. So from there, the other part that I was kind of pulled from the spirit is using minerals, and particularly sea salt in the water. And Rita, you can talk about minerals. Can you share the importance of sea salt or minerals?
So yeah, when it comes to our chemical makeup, right? So minerals are used in so many different functions of the body. So sometimes it's a cofactor, sometimes it's just a vital nutrient that the body needs. And the reason why, like a sea salt, like a true sea salt, we're not talking something that's labeled sea salt and all it is table salt with some potassium thrown back in or a few other minerals thrown back in. So a true sea salt means it has a spectrum of minerals, like a number of minerals. We're talking like 50, 60, depending on the type of salt. So so the idea is the idea is putting in something as with high mineral value, the body is able to use it. Because if you think about like synergistically speaking, like in nature, you're never going to find like salt. You're going to find salt, but you're not going to find salt in the form of sodium chloride, like two minerals. Like you're not going to eat a plant that has just sodium and chloride in it. Like that doesn't exist. That's man-made, right? So we've made that happen. So so someone's asking about Celtic sea salt. So you can use that, Himalayan sea salt. There's a lot of controversy on toxicities of sea salt. So I don't know what, there's one we're using right now called Malden, I think. I don't know if it's MALDON or MALDEN, something like that. So that's supposed to be, less contaminants in it. But aside from that, so just being able to incorporate more minerals into the body in the form of like a sea salt, a Celtic or Himalayan, or something that hasn't been refined to the point of two elements, the body can actually use it, right? So the body can actually use those nutrients where it needs to.
So about if we're going to kind of just wrap up the physical side of things, this is what's happening. So as this information was brought to me, it brought me to certain people. It was then proven to me that these were already in place for a lot of years, using the sun, using water, using mineral water, using structured water. This was all kind of already in call it Nobel Prize winners. Nobel laureates researched this, it brought to science, but the reason why it never made it to the top was because there's no money in it. And all of this can be done for free. Now, when we start talking about combining these things, so one of the biggest issues, there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Batlamovich, and they call him Dr. Batman. So Dr. Batman, he was in jail in Iran, and he had all these diseases, all the other inmates in there were getting all sick. So he ended up using it as a side experiment. And as they were saying, people were coming to him for help. The only thing he had at his disposal was water. So he would tell people to drink more water. Well, people started their diseases were reversing almost immediately just by getting their hydration up. By then adding, so the body is pretty much made of water. But if you're just drinking RO water, it's going to pass through the entire system. The minerals what's in the minerals is what the body needs in order to function and repair and live. So when you start getting the right minerals into your body, that starts going in the cells. The sun gets on there, starts putting the rays on there. You end up creating this other layer. And this is called the fourth phase of water. And this phase of water actually protects you from all contaminants. Nothing can actually get by this except really small protons and neutrons. You can get by it. So all sickness, all disease ends up being repaired by getting enough hydration in, getting the sun in there, and it actually shows to create this layer, this protective layer that can never enter your body. So now when you have this protective layer in the body, when you start being consistent with this, sleep, sun, water, and we didn't touch on food, but I think we all quite know it's to avoid certain foods. One of the biggest things that I did was I needed to go into ketosis, no longer surviving off sugar or carbs. It was changing what my body's fuel source on, which we'll touch on in a second. Combining all this created a protective layer. Then the body started rebuilding slowly. Now with nerve damage like mine, because it's like 10 years of damage that I've reversed, that they said was impossible, which I thought, well, maybe this is the thing, but higher consciousness told me that it's more than that. Keep going, be consistent. So I've actually been doing it for 14 months, but it was really just the 5 months as soon as I was able to get the sun in. And as soon as I got the sun in, cleaned up my diet, I had the salt water in my body started getting healthier and fast within a couple of weeks. Only this week that just passed, it was the last 9 days was the first time I was able to stand from the bed to a walker into my wheelchair. The first time every time. Previously, it was taking me 3 or 4 times. And before that, it was Rita trying to lift me up, pick me up in a bed to get me into the walker and to even just to get into the wheelchair. So if we think about just combining those abilities, and that's just the start. It's the basics to start reversing any disease, restoring your mitochondria, restoring your health, and getting the energy back in your system. Because there was a long time I had massive brain fog, massive drain of energy. But this was the first start to get all of my thoughts back, all of my energy back, my stamina. And now I can live, no longer trapped in bed, just by doing these 2 things. Go to bed, sunlight, and well, 3 things, and diet. And let's just talk on diet before we get to the emotional part. Rita, can you tell me about keto and clinical keto, what I've been doing?
Yeah, so I think we should back up a little bit, because you've had these symptoms since like 2011, right? So the body always speaks to you in whispers, right? It gives you a little shows you something's not right, and you may or may not work on it, or may not catch it, right? So in 2011, it wasn't even an MS diagnosis; it was another diagnosis, and so over time, so you probably stayed with that diagnosis until 2018 or 19. So let's say for 8 years you believed you had one issue, and you did change at the time, because remember you did a juice fast, and you did a juice fast for 66 days, I believe, and the inflammation that had been there for however long basically cleared up, right? So your weight came down, the inflammation came down, because previous to that you were also sleeping on ice packs because you had so much inflammation in your spine that you couldn't even sleep even if you wanted to sleep. Right. So remember in the beginning when I said is when someone's in an excess condition or a deficiency condition, at that time you were in an excess condition because there was just so much inflammation. And so by juicing, you actually detoxed, right? So we were able, because you had the excess, and it showed improvement. And then over time, for whatever reason, whether the sleep issue, the water, or the even eating as a vegan or a plant-based diet, you can still there's still the processed foods that sneak in there, right? Just because something's vegan doesn't mean it's good for you. Like we don't eat Oreos, but Oreos is considered vegan. It doesn't mean we're going to start bringing Oreos into the house, right? So so then when it started to progress further, that's when this MS diagnosis came. And then at that point so that's like 5 years of just trying to control it the best we knew, right? me doing my stuff, him doing his stuff, his meditations and energy work and breath work and all of that, me doing my stuff with the food, the supplements, and it still progressively got worse. And then when he found whichever doctor that introduced the ketosis diet. And so a lot of times when people think ketosis is just like, oh, you're just going to eat meat, right? Like it's just a meat diet, but it's not. So especially like a strict clinical ketosis diet is basically a very high fat diet. And we're not talking bacon and eggs. We're talking like tallow. Like we're talking just a lot of fat, and then the 20% protein that goes with it.
Yeah. So specifically on my side, as Rita was saying, it was the high fat. So even though I was plant-based and I was really healthy and I felt really good, my body was getting worse. And as I would tune in, so this is where I would use higher consciousness. It's like, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right things? And I would always hear, keep going, keep going. And we're going to talk about that in a minute on how you can connect to use higher consciousness the right way without actually having big Kundalini awakenings. None of that is necessary. But specifically on the diet side, as I had this Kundalini awakening, what that brought to me was just a direction of who to follow and who to look at. The next thing that I was synchronicity. Certain people started coming into my life, and it was showing me what I needed to do in terms of restoring this body and the diet. Even though I was plant-based, I was still having a lot of carbs. I was still having pastas or rice or whatnot, and that was spiking too much energy in me by converting it into glucose. So I needed to get off the glucose in this body. And that was one of the key things where ketosis comes in. So instead of living off carbs, now Rita can eat carbs all day and she's fine. But for me, being in this disease state, I need to do a little bit more extreme. So I eliminated absolutely everything out of my diet and just went to a very straight high fat diet. I needed to start out with 2 grams of fat for every gram of protein. And she said it was tallow. I was eating just scoops and scoops of tallow, which is just beef fat. And going from plant-based to beef fat was a transition. My body needed to stop learning to live off fat, off sugar, and start living on fat. The reason why it happens, so you can talk about how the body shifts from glucose to fat. How does the body change? Because I know going to ketosis, you actually have 10 times more energy just by going into ketosis. And yeah, can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's just a shift of how it's going to use energy. So generally speaking, so if there's no disease state going on, generally speaking, what the body does is when you eat carbs, some of it gets stored and some of it gets burnt up. And so when you eliminate the carbs, and it doesn't even have to be bad carbs, it just has to be carbs, right? It could be sweet potato, right? So it doesn't have to be bread and like pastas, and yes, that's part of it, but it could be like what we consider like healthier carbs also. So when we eliminate anything that's considered a carbohydrate, the liver then has to try, and it's going to try and release its own sugar so that it can give you energy, right? So that's just a natural mechanism that the body does. But if you stop putting that in, then the body doesn't have this reserve of energy, right? And so what it does is the body then has to learn, okay, what else can I burn for energy, right? And fat, right? So
yeah,
you can burn a candle for energy, same thing, right? So our body's going to do the same thing. So it's going to use something for energy, and in this case, it's going to use the fat.
So, and that was key for me changing my body over. Now, it's not a pretty transition. I'll tell you this. It's what I had to go through. So because I couldn't even get to the bathroom all that well, you're going to eliminate a lot of stuff out of the body as you go through that transition, as you no longer need the carbs in there that you're sure to fuel the body. It was then going into having that excess fat, the gallbladder and liver learning to produce the proper enzymes in order to break down and start letting off fat. And it's got to go somewhere. And luckily, I was wearing a diaper because it was coming out. Now, the people that we worked with as well, it would pass through them pretty quickly. And sometimes they would just have some accidents when they didn't, even though they weren't incontinent like I was, but they did have accidents. But again, when you have those moments, the world is crashing down on you. It's like, I'm on the wrong diet. I'm doing the wrong things. And that's where higher consciousness comes in. So most of us think that we need to be talking with spirits, hearing God, hearing our angels, hearing all this stuff. I don't really hear. It may seem that way, but I don't really hear. The way that I was coming through with higher consciousness was I would quiet my ego mind. So think about this. This body that we're all in, we are a higher consciousness. We are a soul. We are a spirit. And we come in and out of this body in another way. That we are here just to kind of learn some lessons and to go through something. But we're also, being in a human body means that we are not in this wonderful state as a soul. We need to come down and experience free will, make choices on our own. The only way we're going to learn is through some hardship. So when we're in this body, we're then filtered from this higher consciousness. We are not the higher consciousness. We are more ego. So there's the body. This body is like an animal. It needs the food. It needs water. It needs sunlight. It needs proper rest. It needs all the basic foundation. And that is the basis of what we just talked about, having that. But it seems to, like any child out there, a child is going to run off on its own unless it has some guidance. The guidance that we're built in with a human is our brain and it's our ego. That ego learns all this information from the time that we're born in to the time that we are right now. We see and hear things, and that becomes our encyclopedia or our notebook. So anytime something new happens to us or something that we want to understand or don't understand, we go back to that notebook, which is our brain. And oftentimes our ego is going to say, yeah, this is good, let's do it. Or it's going to say, no, you're crazy, you're going to hurt yourself, this is going to be really bad. The ego doesn't know much. But we tap into a higher consciousness. That knows all. That is an all-knowing intelligence. It's been through it. It knows it. It's created all this. So when we start going into, when I had all those moments where it was the pity party and I was crying, I don't know if this is going to work. My body was getting worse. And every time my body would get worse, I would spiral. But I'd have to use higher consciousness. So how do you do that? Outside of meditating for hours and hours a day, outside of having a Kundalini awakening, the practice is twofold. The first is to learn to quiet your mind. Now, for me, it was meditation. Rita, what do you do to quiet your mind? What's your meditation?
I do so many things. For me, it's just being creative in whatever that means, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm gardening, whether I'm drawing, whether I'm something. I'm always doing something. And it's in that creative state for me.
And how does that make you feel when you're in that creative state?
I guess I would say like there's no time. It's not like I'm sitting there going, oh, I did that for 10 minutes or I did that for an hour. Like it's just, I just do. And then, when I feel like I'm done doing that, then I just go on to the next thing. But for me, like there's no time. And also when I'm focused on whatever I'm doing, I'm also out, I'm not thinking. Not that I'm not thinking, I'm not listening to what my mind is saying, right? Sometimes I'm at the point where I have to actually like ask myself like, oh, what is my brain thinking right now? Right? Because it's all nonsense. It's just like ridiculous information that comes out of my brain sometimes. But it's like, so because I stay active and I do what brings me joy, I don't really focus too much on that.
So it's interesting. So when I'm in meditation, I'm lost as well. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking that time. There's no time, there's no space, nothing happens. So this becomes the second most important part about healing. It's learning to separate yourself from your mind and body. For me, it's meditation. For Rita, it's staying creative. But regardless of the way that you do it, it's raising your vibrations. And when people have a Kundalini awakening, that's why they follow one of my other videos on the Kundalini awakening and the breath work, is to enter a state out of the body, to force yourself out of it. But if you end up doing it by doing what you love and just follow your passion, that is a great way of raising your energy and being able to separate yourself from the negative mind. But then you got to take care of the negative mind. So anytime we spiral, what do people tell you? They tell you to snap out of it. Be happy. Be happy. But when your mind is spiraling, you cannot be happy in that moment. You can't force yourself. Oftentimes, like, I'm happy. You're gritting through your teeth. I'm happy. Everything's wonderful. But you're not. You're freaking miserable. You have to go beyond that. And what I've discovered is not to force yourself to be happy, not forcing any of this. So just like Rita just following her passion and joy, just like me following my passion and joy, following meditations, this is what brings us both joy. But when you get in those moments of spiral, you got to learn to stop and go into that practice of joy and then observe by looking at the negative. Why am I feeling this way? Why is this negativity happening in my life? Why is my family member angry at me and doing this? Why are my friends doing this? Why am I having these bad relationships? Why am I eating all this junk food? It's taking a minute. Take a breath, calm yourself, get in that calm state, and then observe and just look at it. And if you start looking at some of the things that are putting you in this negative spiral, and start going into understanding. And one of the key ways that I love doing is by asking a couple of questions. The first question is, what do I believe to be true to give this truth? So why am I thinking this way? Why am I spiraling? Why do I believe that this bad thing? Why am I cooking myself? And this is the enemy and me getting worse. So when you start thinking about that, and I start seeing it, I then will often say, okay, well, you believe it's because this, that, and this. You believe it because your body's getting worse. You believe it because the doctors believe that they're right. But then I take a minute, I take a breath, and I ask, is there any truth to this? Is that truth? And every time I ask, it says no. There isn't truth to that. It's BS. And once I know that, oh, it's not true. I think it might be true, but it's not. I know the truth, and now the body will automatically start reversing and no longer think that way. Because if that thought comes up again, the next time I eliminate myself and I've dirtied myself, I'm no longer spiraling. I think, no, it's not true. It's something. It's part of the process. It's okay. It's all going to work out. So now I no longer spiral for 3 days at a time. I know that it's going to heal. So when it comes down to that healing, it's not just raising your vibrations, gritting your teeth, but it's looking and observing the negativity. Now that's the way that I do it, and that's been shown to me. How do you do it?
For me, it's just number one is just the awareness of it. So if something is, if something comes to mind, or I'm trying to think of an example right now, but let's say somebody's angry at me or something, or and then I don't know if you guys have done this, but I'm sure you have, but in your head, you're coming up with all these lines. If they say that again, I'm going to say this. And then if they say that, I'm going to say this. Right. So it's like you're creating like this whole storyline that doesn't even exist. So for me, I just kind of like tune into like, okay, well, like what is actually happening? Right. So it's like, is it fear? Is it anger? Like, is it my anger? Is it their anger? Like, what is this? What's happening right now? So it's almost like I'm talking to like a 5-year-old trying to figure out like why they're having a tantrum. Like, what is happening? What's wrong? Like, right? Like, what is it? So that's how I kind of like, yeah, your mind automatically does it. I think that's the human aspect of us, right? Like our ego protecting us and creating all this like protection for us. But I think once you kind of like stop and kind of say like, what's happening right now, and go a little bit deeper and start asking like the whys, like why? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it like insecurity? Is it, whatever it may be? Then I feel that's how I deal with it.
I often see it. It's like this. Rita and I, we went away. So we followed the sun over winter time because where we were, we sold our house, but the sun doesn't get high enough in the winter, so we had to go south for the winter to get towards the sun. But in the meantime, Rita is a plant lover and animals, and she's a steward of this land to protect people, plants, and animals. Well, the plants, we couldn't bring it with us. And they essentially had to go into a basement or into a closet. What happens to a plant that doesn't have light? It's not getting the water, it's not getting the attention. It ends up withering and dying. And when you bring it into the sun, it's becoming vibrant and energized. So just like the negative thoughts we have, we start giving it energy and attention. And then with our positive thoughts, we think start giving it energy and attention and devoid it. I put my thoughts into a closet and I observe it, I understand it, I know it, and then I set it aside. I put it in the closet. And when it comes up again, I again observe it, I look at it, and then I put it back in the closet. I don't want to give it energy. So we have a choice of whether we want to give it energy or not. So this was the first step of reversing an incurable disease. Some of that we've tested with other people and is happening out there. And there's a lot of great methods out there, but I don't believe in just one way of doing things. It's using a combination of things. I also believe in using nature. And what's come down to shown to me is you need the sun, the air, the earth, and water. And on top of that is the etheric. So using those things in the body. Today we talked about the first step, which was sunlight. And sunlight is key. So we talked about waking up early, going to bed by 9, going to bed by 10, and asleep by 10 or 11. So the body can start healing and repairing. We talk about, we didn't say this, but we want to stay in natural light. Artificial light, like on our screens and whatnot, it's spiked. They get rid of all the other lights to tell you that it's getting dark. It's all the bright lights. So the bright light that's from our televisions, from our screens, from our cell phones, that tells the body to stay awake. And that's why you start watching YouTube shorts or TikToks late at night. You're awake all night. It's because you keep on telling your body to stay awake, stay awake, stay awake. So look at getting blue blockers. Blue blockers, I should be actually having them on right now. So blue blockers are these glasses, and these are my daytime ones. So when I'm on a screen during the day, but we have lots of sunlight, so it's okay. It's avoiding artificial light during the day, at nighttime, and staying with full spectrum natural sunlight. Now, if you can't do that, get outside of it. Open up the window, just crack. The light has shown that it will penetrate through cracks and holes. It's just like when you've got an aquarium filled with water. If there's a tiny little hole in there, one side is the screen, all that water is going to come rushing in. So think about getting natural sunlight, open up your windows, open up your doors, get outside for a few minutes every hour or so. Get lots of water and hydration. The air part, I use breath work. I'm going to talk about that more in the future, how to layer that in, but you're going to start with sun. And the last part we talked about was mindset and emotions. So because we've had our emotions, we want to answer your questions. And Reed and I have a unique ability that I'm able to tune in through the etheric, through the emotion, through spirit. Rita is able to know, she knows the body inside and out, and she connects with body. So if you are having any health issues, or you know someone's having health issues, let us tune into you and try to give you some sort of clue or diagnosis of where you can go. As a reminder, none of this is medical advice. Rita's been doing this for 20 years. She is licensed, is authorized to do this only through her clients and one and through signed waivers. For myself, again, I'm not qualified for anything, but I am qualified to the thousands of people that I've worked with over the years to help on a spiritual basis. So between now we know the two of us, we want to help you heal. So if you have any questions, if you have anything about the etheric, anything about spiritual, anything on these topics, please post it, and we'd love to share it with you. And if you're willing, you can even come on with us onto the chair right now, ask your question, because Rita is able to, she can hear your voice and see a picture of you. She's able to use her pendulum and energy and tune in better. Since we might not have the luxury of answering those questions for you that way, and you might not want to come on live with us. That's okay. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to scan your bodies. I'm going to see what's tuned in for you, and then you can ask me questions as I'm tuned in to find out and pinpoint your health issues that you can then take into help. Is that fair? Good with that, Rita?
I'm good with it.
But while we're waiting for questions, was there anything that we saw start or post that we needed to address? And first of all, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. It's really great. And thank you, Benefsha, for signing up to become a member. I'd forgotten that piece was on there. Thanks for that. So we got our first question that's here, and this is Lambrowski. So Lambrowski says, I've worked nights for 10 years, so I don't get so much sun anymore. And this year I was diagnosed with autism hepatitis. I believe you are right. Yeah. Autoimmune hepatitis. So let me tune in. And I'm sure you can talk about this already, but I'm going to tune in. All right. Do I have permission? Yeah. So if somebody's working nights, what can you do? I'm hearing working at night times can be tricky because your body is, the script is flipped on you. But what you can do is when you have the availability of light, get out there and get some light. So try and get natural light on you. Open up your windows. But even at nighttime, there's energy coming from the moon. So you can, if you can, get outside and stare at the night light and the moonlight, and get that into your eyes. This is actually going to regulate and balance your system so that it knows that it's up at nighttime. Because if you think about ancestors and forefathers that were in the desert, they actually traveled at night. And they weren't always up during the day. It was better to travel at night because the sun was too hot to travel during the day. So they would use the bright moonlight to regulate their circadian rhythms. And the body would then use that energy to balance it as such. Now, on the days that you do get a regular day, that you're working days, try to get up with the sun. Now, you don't want to jeopardize getting enough rest for your body, but when you get up, get outside. Don't have glasses on, get natural eyes, get your eyes into the natural sunlight, get your body into the natural sunlight, and try and get those rays and energy onto your body to help convert your body over and start producing the chemicals it needs so that at nighttime, when it is time to sleep, it's going to have the buildup of chemicals. And we're talking about things like cortisol and melatonin. You need that morning light in order to generate the melatonin when you are ready to sleep. That's what I'm getting. Do you have anything that you want to ask about that?
I think I would just comment. So because it's inflammation, so you can try also taking anti-inflammatory like turmerics and things like that. But also, what came to my mind was castor oil packs. Doing castor oil packs over your liver.
Oh, what does that do?
So castor oil packs is just a natural way to help the body detox. It helps the body with inflammation. It does so many things. But in this case, just do castor oil packs over you can do over your whole abdomen. It doesn't have to be just the liver area. But that could be one little thing. Like when I work with people who are like shift workers, I sometimes will give them homeopathics, and sometimes that's helpful. But that was just what came to mind for me.
That's a start.
Oh, she's got another question, or they have another question.
Yeah. Caught the tail end. You talk about detoxing. I've been detoxing, taking vitamins. Could you go over that one more time? I heard you say it's not good. Yeah. you can go through the replay anyways, but really I was talking about using the moonlight to get out there with the moonlight. If you're working during the nights, take a minute to get outside, and even during the day, as soon as you wake up, get outside and get out in the sun with natural light. Get that on your body as quickly as possible. And then Rita was talking about using castor oil.
Castor packs. Don't do that?
No, you want to try it?
Oh, yeah. So I would do castor oil packs over the abdomen, so that will help with the inflammation happening within the liver. And then you mentioned that you're taking some vitamins, which is good. So if you're a shift worker type person, you might actually need to how do I word this? Kind of like if your daytime is your nighttime, then do your morning vitamins in the evening, right? So like kind of switch up when you're doing them. That could be helpful also. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah,
I'm thinking like a B vitamin, right? So B vitamins most people would take in the morning because it's meant to give you energy. But if you're a shift worker, you don't need you want the energy in the evening, not necessarily in the morning, because in the morning you're trying to sleep. Right? So you might need to reverse when you take them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So instead of taking your B's in the morning to wake you up, take it at nighttime. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you are awake, you're forced to be awake. Yeah. Doesn't will that screw up the body though? Throw it off in the system, and will it go back to normal?
Yeah. B vitamins are water soluble. They just stay in the system as long as they're needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So this was today. We just talked. We did say the earth. There's the air. There's the water. We talked about the sun and the water. But we're going to get deeper about on this healing, and we actually want you guys to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to get to share reversing this so-called irreversible disease, and the doctors are wrong about it. Now, I'm not saying all doctors, because as consciousness is waking up, more information is coming to us. We are finding out that the classic procedures and drugs aren't it. That reversing disease, doesn't matter what the disease is, it can be done, and you can do this. Know that you're part of the community. Know that part of the consciousness, we are all connected to one, and we're here to help you. So that is what we are going to be doing here. Is week after week, every Sunday, I'm going to share what's coming through, and continue to go a little bit deeper into adding in layers of what more you can do to reverse any disease that you have. Now, if you don't have disease, this is something that's just going to strengthen your body, and it's going to make you feel so good by doing and layering in things. But stage one, the sun. Get that in your body. Diet. Think about what you're putting in your body. And we've heard all this before, but now, and I've applied all this, but now I'm getting into specifically to reverse disease. And I don't care what you have. Rita might have never thought on that, but that's what my experience, what I'm hearing. We will all reverse this. Yeah, all of it. What are you saying?
My thought on the diet part is that it is specific to people. Not everyone is going to need to go on a clinical ketosis diet to heal. Some people, everyone is different. Every body is different. Neurological issues, that they respond better to a ketosis type diet. And then, this ketosis stuff was researched many, many years ago, and it was used on people who with severe epilepsy. So, there has been research done on this for a long period of time. It was sort of specific to one kind of condition. But that's not to say we're not here to promote keto. We're not here to promote veganism. We're not here to promote anything specific, because everyone is different. And, Khan eats one way, I eat another way that works for me, and he's eating in a specific way that's working for him right now. And so we're not promoting any specific diet. It really just, you have to listen to your body and see what works best for you.
So if you found any of this interesting, the next time we're going to start talking about why your guides aren't answering your prayers to heal. And we often turn to them expecting miracles. So join us next week, Sundays, 11 a.m. We're going to be here every week. If you just want someone to hang out with, and you have a question, and you have a health issue, or you want to talk about your guides or spirituality, tune in. We are here to help you, and that is our promise. And that was my promise to give back to God. He told me it's to give back to humanity and teach them and share with them so that they can start healing too. You are never trapped. Anyways, I'm Khan Mustafa, and this is my wife, Rita, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Love you all.
everyone.
Bye.